Yo, I remember back in the day when I heard the truth for the first time. I couldn't believe my ears. So I went in to study and disprove it. And I saw that the Most High was serious. It was like it's like the scales fell off my eyes. Like, oh, he's talking about me. This whole time he was talking about me. I didn't know. So I have to give you more praise, honor, and glory that's due unto his name. Praise Yah, Yahweh Ba, Shema Mashiach, Yahweh Shah. We let Yahweh reign. Yo, this wicked world, the love is lost. We preach Yahweh, they shrug us off. These haters, yo, got they pastors walk. When it was you he's talking to who broke the master's laws. What was the cause? Why was I worth it? I pray y'all give me strength to fight, cause I ain't nothing perfect. I got enough pent up inside to rise above the surface. I got a savior by my side, but y'all don't deserve it. And no joke, I mean, everybody thought I was crazy when I was telling the truth. When I started quoting scriptures and telling them, yo, this is talking about us, they didn't know how to take it. They didn't know what to do about it. You know what I'm saying? Sort of like how Paul said, if I become your enemy by telling you the truth, so be it. For Yah so love is chosen, he gave his son to save him. So I'ma praise him, raise him fast and pray till something changes. I will it in, I'm flipping past a couple pages. He says we win, I'm holding fast this revelation. Is they gon' hate me then if I don't walk the path of Satan? Is that gon' make me bend if all my friends is laughing, hating? What if I drop my sin, repent to Yah and turn to Christ?
Yah let you in, let you eternal life.
How do I shake the shame? Heed to the master's call. Won't take me out the game, even if I drop the ball. Online on blogs and malls, I gotta speak to reach you. The living water, bread of life, and some meat to feed you. Here's what I'm trying to say. You can heed the call. Repent and keep the laws if you don't die today. But if you die in sin, can't reset and try again. It was like the scales fell off my eyes. Like, yo, he's talking about me. This whole time he was talking about me. I didn't know. So I have to give you more praise, honor, and glory that's due unto his name. Praise Yah, Yahweh Ba, Shema Mashiach, Yahweh Shah. We let Yahweh reign.
All right. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Shabbat Bible Study. Good to see you. If everything in the comments, somebody please put a 1. If I can be seen and heard, my video's okay. Can somebody please put a 1 in the comments before we get into the devotional reading? And yeah, just a little bit about this Bible study in particular, or this message. It's just to kind of get us aware or cognizant of the fact that when we are persecuted, it's not about anything that we've done. It's about because of who we are. And then not even, even when you put it in that context and in that vein, it's just to say that it's not about us. It's all about the Most High and his righteousness. And we'll get into that a little bit when we get into, and thanks, Brother Chick and Brother Romano. We'll get into that a little bit when we get into the devotion in Matthew chapter 5, because Christ does tell us a lot of things in Matthew chapter 5 that a lot of us, when we looked at it religiously, we were taught it in a spiritual sense, but it's a little deeper than that. And it's about who the Most High's chosen people are, who he's talking to. You always got to get that in context to get the full understanding. You know what I'm saying? Yes, these are good nuggets to take with a spiritual vein, but at the same time, there's a literal sense behind it as well. So we'll get into that. So my good brother Chick and my father-in-law, they said I'm good. So we can go ahead and get into the reading. Let's get Matthew chapter 5. We're going to start at the very first verse. In fact, I'm gonna pull the parallel up. There we go. And I'll parallel this with the KJV since this is a lot. Um, since this is a familiar scripture for a lot of people. All right. Oh, I did that on the wrong one. Sorry. So let's get it. All right. So it says, starting at verse 1. But when he saw the crowds, he went. Well, hold on. There's one more thing I forgot I need to do real quick. All right. So, starting at verse 1, he says, but when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountain. And when he was seated, his disciples came to him. And having opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, because they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. Blessed are the compassionate, because they shall obtain compassion. Blessed are the clean in heart, because they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall be called sons of Elohim. Blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Because he said, blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you and falsely say every wicked word against you for my sake. Rejoice and be glad, because your reward is in the heavens is great. For in this way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men, so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete. For truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one yod or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah till all be done. Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands and teaches men so shall be called the least in the kingdom of heavens. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the kingdom of heaven. You heard that it was said of those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you, whoever is wroth with his brother without a cause shall be liable to the judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raka, shall be liable to the Sanhedrin. But whoever says, you fool, shall be liable to the fires of Gehenna, and that's hell. If then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, and there remember that your brother holds whatever against you, leave your gift there before the slaughter place and go. First make peace with your brother, and then come offer your gift. Leave your gift there, Salakia. Then offer your gift. Verse 25. Be well-minded with your opponent promptly while you are on the way with him, lest your opponent deliver you to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you be thrown into prison. Truly I say to you, you shall by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny. You heard that it was said of those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone looking at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. And if your right eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it away from you. For it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown in Gehenna. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away from you. For it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into Gehenna. And it has been said, whoever puts away his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever puts away his wife, except for that matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery. And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery. Again, you heard that it was said of those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths before Yah. But I say to you, do not swear vainly at all, neither by the heavens, because it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king, right? Or the great kingdom. Verse 36, nor swear by your head, because you are not able to make one hair white or black. But let your yes be yes, and your no be no. And what goes beyond this is of the wicked one. You heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist the wicked. All right. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. And he who wishes to sue you and take away your inner garment, let him have your outer garment as well. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go 2. Give to him who asks of you, and from him who wishes to borrow from you. Do not turn away. You heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those cursing you, do not do good to those hating you, and pray for those insulting you and persecuting you, so that you become sons of the Father in the heavens. Because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Are the tax collectors not doing the same too? And if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Are the tax collectors not doing this also? Therefore, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. All right, all right. Let's go ahead and get into it. And there's a lot of nuggets, and hopefully I can just touch back into some of those. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna do a whole lesson on Matthew chapter 5. Because there's a lot of things that people take out of there, you know what I'm saying, at their convenience. And skip over also. They skip over a lot of Matthew 5 at their convenience as well. But we're going to deal with the point of, or the part about being persecuted for righteousness' sake, right? Persecuted for righteousness' sake. Let's see where we at. It should be popping up. For some reason, it's being slow, or my internet is being slow. But let's get it. Let's get it. Persecuted for righteousness' sake. What did he say? Since we're dealing with that, let's go to Matthew chapter 5 again. When he talks about being persecuted for righteousness' sake, it has nothing to do with anything that you've done. And then also take into account the fact that those of us who want to do what the Most High said to do in His Word, how we're seen, how we're looked at, and how we're treated. All right. And a lot of our motivation for this comes from the fact. Let me stop the share screen because that had obviously didn't work. Comes from the fact of who we are in the Messiah, right? Comes from who we are in the Messiah. And you know what I'm saying? It's not, I don't know why that's not popping up. Let me see if it's popping up on the screen. If it is, I'll keep moving. All right, that ain't. Nope. I don't understand it. Let me try it again. Stop. It says it's loading, but for some reason it's not. I don't know. Let's try this one more again. There it is. There it is. I don't know what that was all about. But for righteousness' sake, let's go ahead and get into it. You are persecuted for righteousness' sake. He says, blessed are those in verse 10, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. All right. Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to stay there. Let's keep it moving. Let's get into it. For righteousness' sake, you have to stay confident, right? Confident in the promises of the Most High, because your endurance will pay off in the end. And we know a lot of things in this life isn't fair. No matter where we find ourselves on the continent, on whatever continent on this planet. We are persecuted, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are asking why. A lot of people are fighting for equality. They want to be equal, like Malcolm X said, with the devil. The Most High preached to come out from amongst them and be ye separate, but a lot of us cannot fathom that doctrine, because we think that everybody is the same. Everybody is the same, and the scriptures tells you that no, everybody is not the same, right? You are persecuted. You are, you know what I'm saying, to look to these things, like when we read in Deuteronomy 28. You are to look to these things as a sign and for a wonder. These curses shall be upon you for a sign and for a wonder. But like we stated previously, this whole situation isn't even about us. It's all about the Most High, right? So we have to learn to be patient in the midst of persecution. Understand that when people reject the truth of the word, that they are not rejecting you, but they are rejecting the Most High. Even in that sense, they're rejecting the Most High. When they reject you as being the Most High set apart people, they are rejecting the Most High, right? So if we don't let the Bible, if we don't know the Bible, we don't know doctrine. If we don't know theology, all right, it is virtually impossible for us to identify false prophets. Okay, it was important to go into Matthew chapter 5 and talk about and read the whole thing, right? There was a lot said there, but all right, through experience in Christianity and religiosity, that certain scriptures are read and certain scriptures are skipped over. That's not by coincidence. Oh yeah, and matter of fact, before we move on, I just wanted to look at this meme for a second. It says, "Get out of false teachings," right? That's one of the things that we want to do, and we want to express to people that they need the whole Bible, right? A lot of the understanding that you get from Matthew chapter 5 on the topic of divorce and adultery and things of those nature, to complete the picture, you have to go into Deuteronomy chapter 24, right? Even when you jump into the very first verse, okay, and understand it from the Most High's perspective, or to understand it from Torah, right? Then you can put it together what Christ is actually talking about. A lot of people, and he even explains it further, but it's misunderstood in Christian ideology. Okay, one of the problems people stumble with is when he says, if you look at a woman with lust, all right, you've committed adultery with her already in your heart, right? Not really understanding that the context of adultery is always based upon the status of the woman, right? He goes into it in Matthew chapter 5, and I didn't intend to stay here, but he goes into it even more and says that, you know what I'm saying, if you put her away, you know what I'm saying, if you put her away, you make her an adulteress, right? And if you take on a woman who has been put away, you are an adulteress. Why? Because that woman was once married. If you understand it in the context, when you're looking at a woman with lust, it's not just any woman, all right? Because we are attracted to women, and women attracted to men. That's just nature, right? But a person's status is what makes the thing lawful or unlawful. And people really don't pay attention to that, or they don't get the complete picture of it because of religiosity. So let's keep it moving. All right, for righteousness' sake, our history has been written by those that hung our heroes. All right, given this fact, it is therefore foolish to believe that the history taught to us is true. Right? That's why they want you to believe it in the Christian vein, and you're persecuted whenever you tell the truth. Whenever you break a thing down and it goes against their belief system, something they've leaned their understanding on their whole life, right? That's when they come to that psychological disorder called cognitive dissonance, right? And it's a hard thing for them to really accept it. So it is what it is. They persecute you for righteousness' sake. Hebrews chapter 10 and 35, it says, "Do not then lose your boldness, which has great reward," right? Verse 36, "For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the desire of Elohim, you receive the promise." Doing the desire of Elohim is not easy, right? Doing the desire of Elohim is not easy. It comes with challenges. It comes with obstacles, right? And it shouldn't be that way if all of these people are reading the same book. All of these people are believing in the same Elohim. It shouldn't be that hard, but it becomes hard because you're sitting up here trying to play out what's written in the scriptures. And this world is a fallen world. Everybody is doing what Satan wants them to do and calling it righteousness, calling it good, calling it acceptable, calling it a thing to do, a thing to be done, right? And even going far enough to say that it's righteous, right? It is not. When you get into the scriptures and understand that keeping the Sabbath is something that the Most High desires, right? And Sunday keeping is something that Satan desires, right? You'll see when you try to keep the Sabbath day, the opposition. But he tells us in Hebrews 10:36, says, you have need of endurance so that when you have done the desire of Elohim, you receive the promise. Okay. At the end of the day, you have to judge for yourself whose word is more dominant, right? If the religion you've been taught your whole life goes against what the scriptures say, whose word is more dominant? Right? The truth will always be hated in the world built on lies. Our histories, the history we've been taught is a lie. We don't know who we are, therefore we accept the lowest ring in life, so on and so forth, even though when we read in Revelations, the Most High says, you know what I'm saying, he knows your poverty, but you are rich. We don't know who we are. We were taught that we were less than, all right, and unequal to, so on and so forth. We were taught, we're trained. No matter of fact, our ancestors was trained, and then they trained their kids. And then they trained their children and their children all the way up to us. We've been taught this thing. But understand something. When you understand your biblical identity, you walk different. You talk different, right? You become a threat. You become a threat. When you walk around with your head high because you know who you are. You know who the Most High's chosen people are. All right? There's something that there's an essence that you carry that rubs people that want you to remember your status in life, right? Who want you to remember that you're downtrodden, right? That you're less than, that you're nobody, right? They have a problem with that. But you have to be diligent. You have to keep the endurance, right? And do the desire of Elohim regardless. And people are going to hate you for telling them the truth, right? Just like Paul said, Galatians 4:16, have I now become your enemy by telling you the truth? A lot of us have become enemies of our immediate family members, right? Some of us have fallen out with parents and siblings over telling them the truth. It's a hard pill to swallow, right? But at the end of the day, it was he who created us and not we ourselves. So who do we owe our loyalty to? Who do we owe our devotion to? It's the Most High over everything and everybody, right? Matthew 10:22 says, you will be hated by everyone because of my name. That's a true statement that I've always believed when I was growing up in Christianity, right? But I never experienced it until I came out of there and started living out the word. It's funny how that happens, but it's not about us. Matthew 10:40 says, he who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. All right. So understand, they may think that they're rejecting us, but who are they really rejecting? Right? We don't have the reward in our possession. We don't have anything that we can give you, so on and so forth. The Most High has it, right? It may initially feel as though we are being rejected, but we are told here to take confidence in the fact that they are rejecting the Most High, right? We'll go back into when they was asking Samuel for a king, right? When Elohim was their king, they wanted to be like the rest of the nations. The Most High told Samuel, go ahead, give them what they want, right? Because they're not rejecting you, Samuel. They're rejecting me, right? Don't take rejection personal. When Christ gave the word and they didn't receive it, he moved on to the ones who did, right? We have to learn to move on as well, right? In the past, the truth was hidden, right? Especially when everything was in a book. And, they said before we had technology, before we had Google and the internet, all right, before we entered the age of information, back in the day, everything was in a book. And they said if you wanted to hide anything from black folks, put it in a book. right? We have that scene in the movie Birth of a Nation, right? The new one, not the old one, by Nate Parker, right? We have that scene when he was able to, they was teaching him to read as a little kid. He already adapted reading, and they showed him the bookshelf, right? She handed him the Bible. He started looking at the other books on the shelf. She was like, nah, you can't read those. Those books are for white people, right? We had our people was killed for even trying to learn to read. They had to learn to read in secret. Why? Because the truth was in those books, right? The one thing that keeps our brothers killing each other on the streets, all right, our daughters prostituting themselves and showing all the skin that they want, this, that, and the third, is because they have they lost their identity. They have no idea who they are. They have no idea that they are royalty. Okay. But if you understand it from the biblical perspective of who you are, right? You walk different, you talk different, you see things different, you understand things different, right? So in the past, the truth was hidden. Today, people hide from the truth. They hide from the truth. You have to learn how to move on and let the Most High provide the increase. In Luke chapter 9 and verse 5, he says, as for those who do not receive you, when you go into that city, shake off the dust from your feet as a witness against them, right? They're rejecting the Most High. All you can do is warn them, right? If they don't listen, move on so that you can warn others. And that's important too, because we will spend so much time on somebody that's not going to turn, not going to change their mind. And then there's somebody down the street just a little bit, right, that we didn't have time to get to because we wasted so much time on somebody in their ignorance. Move on so that you can warn others. All right. You can't bring people in by your own will, no matter how bad we may want it for that individual. Right. Matthew 10 and 16 says, see, I send you out as sheep amidst the wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. But it still remains our responsibility to give them the truth, but never to force them to receive it. We have to give them the truth, but we can't force them to receive it. In Ezekiel 3 and 17, it says, Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the house of Israel, and you shall hear a word from my mouth and shall warn them from me. Right? It's not your word. It's not my word. We didn't make it up. We didn't write it. All we did was deliver the mail. Right? In verse 18, he says, when I say to the wrong, you shall certainly die. You have not warned him, nor spoken to warn the wrong from his wrong way, to save his life. That same wrong man shall die in his crookedness, and his blood I will require at your hands. Right? And look at this meaning. They rather see you with this, but not this. Right? Because you are 10 times more powerful when you know who you are. That's the truth. That is the truth. But people don't want the truth. They want to be comfortable. People don't want the truth. They want to be comfortable. If you know that they are walking in error and you say nothing, then the Most High will hold you accountable for their perishing. Right? So you can't be a prisoner of other people's opinion. You tell the truth. If they reject it, move on. If they accept it, all right, then you can, you know what I'm saying, make your abode with them. That's the whole message. He sent them out as sheep amongst the wolves, right? But if that city rejects you, dust off the feet. You know what I mean? Dust your feet off. Knock the dust off. Keep it moving. Once you warn people and they don't listen, all right, you have cleansed yourself and are no longer held accountable for them. Right? You're no longer held accountable for them. Ezekiel 3 and 19 says, but if you have warned the wrong and he does not turn from his wrong, nor from his wrong way, he shall die in his crookedness, and you have delivered your being. A lot of us spend so much time on family members and friends, right? That you know what I'm saying, look at us as if we have been possessed by the devil or something, just because we want to do what the word says. We spend so much time trying to convince them. Why do we spend so much time trying to convince them? Because we love them. Right? We don't want them to walk into eternity, all right, holding a lie in their right hand, expecting something that they're not going to receive, expecting to hear well done, all right, but instead going to hear, I never knew you. We can't spend that much time on individuals. And I know it's hard, and I'm guilty of it. I've talked till I was blue in the face, right, to loved ones, trying to convince them of something that, that Christian thing is just a stronghold. It's a stronghold. It makes no biblical sense, but at the same time, it's a stronghold, right? We have to move on. First lesson is don't be afraid to say it, no matter who they are. And number two, when they reject it, have the strength to move on, right? The truth is the medicine that some just can't handle, can't swallow it. He deals with spiritual blindness in Matthew 13 and 15. It says, for the heart of this people has become thick, and their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, hear with their ears, lest they should understand with their heart and turn back, and I heal them. Right? You should give the Most High praise and thank you that your eyes are open, right? You haven't closed your ears. And many of us, when we first came into the knowledge of the truth, had our ears closed and our eyes closed and our hearts was thick. We were so, dedicated and obligated, all right, to something that does not make any biblical sense, right? Something that we can look back in history and see when the change happened. We can look back through history and see when the hijackers came and took the Bible and used it and created a religion for their use. Even created Manifest Destiny, where Portugal and Spain went and conquered the whole planet using the Bible. Raped, robbed, and murdered people, enslaved a whole planet, a whole continent using the Bible. Using religion, should I say. You have all of this information. A lot of folks have all of that understanding, right? But still a pile up in somebody's church on Sunday and hear pastor tell them a whole bunch of half-truths. Here's what it is. He chose us, right? And not the other way around, right? The Most High has a select group who are going to accept his word and live by it. We can't make a person be a part of that group. That's why the word says move on. It's the Most High's choosing of who will and who won't. John 6:44 says, no one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up the last day. Right? That's why one of my prayers, in my prayer before we start Bible study, I ask the Most High to reveal himself to those who are on the fence, right? They've heard the word, right? You've done your part, right? You may have planted the seed or watered the seed, but it's the Most High who's going to give the increase. My prayer was answered when my father-in-law and them came into the truth, right? That was one of my prayers, right? But look what he says. Look what this meme says. This is literally, and it's crazy how this is people's attitudes. The pastor said it, so it must be true. The pastor said it, so it must be true. Right? I don't care what the fourth commandment says. We worship on Sunday. Right? What does 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 3-4 say? For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. How true is that today? How true is that today? Turn their ears away from the truth. In other words, they only want to hear from the people that are talking good. Like they say, oh, he talking good. He telling you what you want to hear. 9 times out of 10, when you say amen in church, it's because he said something you already agreed with. Amen means that's right. And if amen means that's right, that means you knew that already. You ain't learned nothing. It is what it is. Right? John chapter 15 and verse 16, he says, you did not choose me. Right? So a lot of people be like, you got to choose to follow this, and you got to know he already chose you. That's the beautiful part about it. He chose you to wake up. All right. If you're coming across this Bible study for the first time, he chose you. The Most High set that up. That wasn't by coincidence or chance. He says, you did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit shall remain, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he might give you. Understand the difference. And this goes along also with Matthew's chapter 7 and verse 23, right? Because these people have done this and that in his name, and he says, I never knew you. I don't know you. You've done all of this stuff in his name, but look, that means if he doesn't know you, he didn't choose you. And if he didn't choose you, he didn't appoint you. So if the pastor is speaking contrary to the Most High's word, guess who he did not choose? Guess who he did not appoint? It is what it is. I wonder why I was asleep. I like this one too. It says, I wonder why I was asleep to the truth for so long. According to the scriptures, it is the Most High that has the masses asleep. Then you can understand a little better when he says 2/3 are going to be cut off. Right, and he's going to hold on to a remnant. The question is, why does the truth offend folk? Right, when we look at these celebrities, these black celebrities, so-called black, all right, what did they say? They got everybody mad. What did they say? They said, I know who I am. They said, I am chosen seed of the lost tribes of Israel. Got everybody mad. You need to apologize. You need to apologize. Right? You're banned. You're kicked out. Persecuted for what? For righteousness' sake. Right? And it's not our righteousness. It's the righteousness of the Most High. These people are persecuted because they belong to the Most High. And they said it out loud. Kyrie Irving just posted a link to a book. And that was enough. Nick Cannon, he had a podcast where he told the truth, but then had to later apologize to a Ashkenazi priest or whatever. Hilarious. And to keep his finances and to keep his status, he sure did. Matthew 13 and 15, right? Asks a very good question, and I ask this a lot because this is the examination. Has your heart become thick? Have your eyes become your ears become hard of hearing? And have you closed your eyes? What is your response when confronted with the truth of the Most High's word, especially when it goes against what you've always been taught? Right? Do they obey the word in 1 Thessalonians 5 and 21 that says to prove all things? If we're supposed to be here on Sunday, can you prove it biblically? Can you? Do they obey all right? or does the conflicting words of the pastor or the teacher hold more weight in their heart than does the word of the Most High Yah? Right? You can make yourself say, oh, I would obey Yah over man. You hear people say it a lot. But the proof is in the pudding. All right? It's in their actions. You can make your mouth say whatever you want it to say. But it's in what you do. Right? One of the greatest deceptions among believers in our time is that faith has replaced obedience. I don't have to do that. I have the faith. The reality is this, Matthew 13 and 19. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, when you're teaching this word to somebody and they don't quite get it, or you're telling them that they're the children of Israel and, you know what I'm saying, they're not understanding how this is possible. You're showing them Deuteronomy 28 and the curses, which all so-called black people on every continent is suffering these curses. And he said, these shall be upon you for a sign and for a wonder. You're going to lose your identity. And the only way for you to understand who you are is through these prophecies and these curses. And you show them this, right? And you show them the evidence. You can show them the archaeological evidence, right? You can show them historical evidence. And then you can show them the biblical prophecies. And now the wheels is turning, but they don't quite get it. So guess what they do? They run back to pastor and ask him in church. They go back and ask the milkman for meat. It's like asking somebody that's only carrying bottles of milk to give you some meat and some substance. He ain't carrying it. So this is the very parallel of that scenario. Matthew 13:19. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. Before that seed can fall into the ground and get watered and germinate and create roots, all right, and grow, the raven comes down, right, and snatches the seed off the ground, snatches it off of his heart, right? He says, this is that sown by the wayside, right? We can go into the whole analogy of the seed, all right, and the ground that it lands upon. It's all about the condition of that person's heart. If their heart is thick, that word's not going to penetrate. Matthew 10:34 says, do not think that I've come to bring peace on the earth, right? I did not come to bring peace, but a sword, right? Right? What does that mean? That means that the Most High is drawing a line in the sand, right? You can't play both sides. You're either on the righteous side or the wicked side. That's why we spoke earlier about how the world calls a whole lot of things righteous that the Most High calls wicked. And the only way to determine which is which is in the word. And when you do what the word says, then you become persecuted for righteousness' sake. You're trying to do what the Most High says is righteous, but they don't want you doing that, right? Beware of a different gospel. 2 Peter chapter 2:1, he says, but there also came to be what? False prophets among the people, as also among you there shall be false teachers who shall secretly bring in destructive heresies, all right, and deny the master who bought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves, right? And we have the records. We have the historical records on when this actually happened. We have the records and the dates on when those who are calling themselves the chosen people, the children of the Jews, and today we have the records of when they first converted. But at the same time, that's when that happened. He said that was going to happen. It's prophesied to happen, right? So at the end of the day, I care more about your souls than your feelings. I care more about how you feel about what I'm saying. I mean, I care more about your soul than how you feel about what I'm saying. I hope that makes sense. Right. Matthew 10:34 says, do not think that I've come. Oh yeah, we read that. Do not think that I've come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword, right? The words of Yah were never meant to bring peace. That's why a lot of people are saying that you're teaching hate, or you're teaching division, or you're teaching this and that, right? You're teaching racism. I've heard it all. No, the Most High said to come out from amongst them and be separate. Keep these law, statutes, and commandments, right? And you shall live. That's what the Most High said. Man said the laws are done away with. We can do this because we have faith, as if faith has replaced obedience. Here's what it is. The words of Yah were never meant to bring peace. Yah's word is divisive. That's why you're falling out with your mom. You're falling out with your siblings over this word, because you're trying to do it the righteous way. You're trying to do what the word says. How you got a problem with me doing what the word says? Just sounds off. It just sounds wrong. But that's the reality. Persecuted for righteousness' sake. Since the meaning holy and set apart, the word of Yah draws a line in the sand that separates the righteous from the wicked. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. So as we get to the conclusion, true believers, Salakia, rebuke sin and expose it, right? We were told to expose the sin, right? False believers practice sin and defend it. They practice sin and defend it. For your information, you can't stop Bible prophecy. You can't pray it away. You can't wish it away. You can't fight it away or anything else it away. His will be done. At the end of the day, he is in control of all of this. Satan needs his permission to do anything. Bible prophecy will play itself out. The Most High Elohim is moving in his people. All right. Stop trying to stop something that must happen. Get on the right side of things. This world isn't it. This world is crumbling. Right? This world is crumbling. All right. What does he say in James chapter 4 and verse 4? And then I'll let you have it, Brother Chick. It says, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with Elohim? Whoever therefore intends to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of Elohim. Right? You're either on one side of this thing or you on the other side of this thing. Right? Come on in, Brother Chick, and give us some wisdom, fam. And Shabbat Shalom, Mark.
Shabbat Shalom, brother. Appreciate you today. This word was something I really needed. And the word that stuck out to me a lot was endurance. You spoke it a couple of times. And it took me to the scripture, Ecclesiasticus 2, chapter 2, verse 2. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure and make not haste in the time of trouble. And Matthew 5 was perfect for me in that, because I think sometimes it's not even the endurance with being obedient. You know, I think a lot of times once we get in the habit, like we've talked about, of following this word, you know, we always have improvements to make, but, you know, honoring the Sabbath, eating right, carrying ourselves appropriately, that becomes habit. What I find that we often struggle with, at least myself, with the endurance is of serving each other, of enduring being around people. You know, people wear us out. I know that it wears me out. You know what I'm saying? Feeling, like you said, feeling obscure at times, feeling taken advantage of at times, feeling persecuted at times. I feel that's where the real struggle often comes for us. We want to do what the Most High says, but a lot of times we have to shut ourselves off from other people to do it, which is understandable. But how do we bring others in when we're left in solitude? And that's, to me, the struggle I've felt a lot these past few months, and through my life, but definitely these last 2 months. And those verses in chapter 5 really said a lot to me, remembering to, even when people are taken advantage of, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Keep giving. I remember something I heard months ago, and I kept saying it to people, but I wasn't taking it to my own heart. And I forget who it was. It wasn't even a person I thought highly of, but they made the statement that I don't mind being used because it means I'm blessed. And I was like, that's some real stuff right there. And I kept telling that to other people, but I wasn't taking it in myself. I was getting tired, getting frustrated with people, losing my temper. Lost my temper around my son earlier, and really hurt my feelings to see him have to calm me down. And it's like, to me, that's the endurance that I struggle with, and I think a lot of us do. And I think Matthew 5 is perfect for that, because sometimes we just got to serve even when it hurts, because it comes back around. You know, there's been times when I've done something for somebody, or I bit my tongue when I felt disrespected. And then later, you know, that person thanks you. That person tells you what it meant to them. That person tells you what you did for them, and it gives you a whole new boost. And this, lastly, you know, we talked about who we are and how we're a royal people. I see a lot of times our people love to talk about how we used to be kings, this and that. And they're basing it off the wrong thing, but they talk about that. But they forget there's a responsibility of being royalty. Royalty in today's construct is people serve you, but a king is supposed to serve. He's supposed to serve his people. He's supposed to lead his people. In times of war, he fought beside them and all that. We forget that when we look for this royalty thing. We think being the king is just that we got money, we got clothes, we got fame and all that. No, we're supposed to be serving, and it can be tiring. But if more of us do it and support each other, I think we can endure. That's all I got, bro.
Well, that's all we need, family. Thanks for that edification, and then thanks for being transparent too, because this word, actually, as I was putting it together, you know, it taught me a lot because I had lost my stuff yesterday at work, you know, not understanding why, you know, people were acting the way that they were acting towards me. And then when I was putting this lesson together and just coming to the conclusion that it's not even about me, it's all about the Most High. Um, like I was upset at the fact that I could do everything right, you know, and just speaking on this job in particular, it's like I could do everything right and it's not mentioned. But the one thing I do wrong is just everything. It's just detrimental. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like not being weighed out on a balanced scale, right? And the Most High, you know what I'm saying, said an uneven scale is an abomination, right? And this is one of those things that, you know, I needed this word as a reminder because the endurance to deal when you go walk out in this world knowing who you are, the persecution that comes with that, you know what I'm saying, is enough to make a lot of people fold, right? And at times it can make you forget who you are and whose you are. But you know what I'm saying, Christ basically, he taught the law. Even when we get to the latter parts of the whole Matthew chapter 5, when he's talking about, they call it the Beatitudes. When he continues to talk, he tells you, and that 17th verse, think not that I've come to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy but to fulfill or complete. And he goes into those who break it and teach men so, how they're going to be called the least in the kingdom. But if you notice what he starts talking about, everything down from there, he was teaching Torah. He was teaching Torah, but we were taught it in a religious vein, with a religious connotation, not understanding he was connecting all of these Beatitudes to Torah, right? And at the end of the day, it showed me that it's all about the Most High, right? They're not persecuting me because of anything that I've done right or wrong. I tell people all the time, especially my so-called black friends or whatever, that you can claim to be colorblind all you want to be, but when you walk out your house, somebody is going to remind you of what they think of you, right? And it's not and I'm learning that it's not even about us at the end of the day. It's the same as when we give this word and they reject it and they look at you like you crazy. You just have to understand, they didn't just reject you, they just rejected the Most High, right? And this whole world is set up for us to reject the most, or for people to reject the Most High at every turn and in every way and in every sense. And sometimes we can't recognize it. So Matthew chapter 5, Christ put it in perfect perspective. But at the end of the day, it still serves as an example that if you don't have the whole Bible, you don't have no Bible. Right? It is what it is. Because I remember some folks taking to heart that they're going to go to hell because they were attracted to a woman, right? And then decided that they committed adultery in their hearts, not understanding it from a Torah perspective, right? It is what it is. I can get into a whole bunch of other stuff, how the scripture says you're going to be done with, are you going to be judged by deeds done in the body, so on and so forth. That's a whole nother lesson, but I think it was a pretty good lesson. And I appreciate you, Brother Chick, for that wisdom, you know what I'm saying, and the transparency. And actually, you brought out a whole nother point of Matthew 5 that I had to kind of like just listen to you minister to me. So I appreciate that. So, but without further ado, that's the Bible study today. I hope somebody got something out of it. The Most High willing, we'll be back next Shabbat at 12 o'clock with another word. If you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, you know what I'm saying, like the video, share it, and just enjoy the rest of your Shabbat. Be blessed. Know who you are, know whose you are, right? It was he who created us. We didn't create ourselves. So we are not in control of this. We think that we can make the decisions, every decision on our own. No, get it in writing. The Most High has an objective truth about everything concerning this world. Right? You can get in that word and you can find those answers. Right? So that being the case, we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. And salute again, Brother Chick, for coming through and sharing your wisdom. And salute to everybody in Facebook land. I can't see who was all there, but we bless you and we thank you. All right. Shabbat shalom, everybody.